going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another week of another episode of the Average Joe Lawn Care Show. Tonight I have a guest that I don't think many people know about, and that's okay. That's what this show's about. It's about bringing people from all levels of experience and knowledge, and just different people from all around the community. That's what I wanted this show to be. Tonight I have with me as my co-host Derrick Docket. He's a local lawn care nut here in the St. Louis area, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, Derrick.
All right. Well, first of all, Ben, thanks for the invite, for hopping on. I'm just a local lawn care guy that started watching Alan's videos, Alan Hain, the original lawn care nut, and I just sort of got into it. I don't even know how it happened. Like one day I was watching a video and said, that's how that happens. I think it was a striping video, and I just got more and more into it and went through everything about how to keep the grass in good shape and mow tall and watering and everything. And from that point, I just dug in deeper with the lawn care videos, and it was Ryan's videos, and it was your videos, and I just kept going, and I just sort of kept sticking with my lawn. And this is probably the third straight year that I've been a little bit more hands-on with the lawn, and it was a pretty good year this year. It stayed green for a very long time, so it's pretty happy with how things turned out. But I live in the St. Louis area. We've met up before doing my podcast. I've got my Raising Men t-shirt on right now.
There you go.
Supporting that. So I work for a local school district doing communications. I do my own podcast as a hobby, interviewing people with unique backgrounds, unique careers. And it's more of a inspiration for people that may not know unique stories, and telling stories for people all different walks of life, and sharing, hey, just because someone's path went one way doesn't mean that it's wrong if yours isn't going the same way. We all get to where we want to go in life different ways. So that's sort of the background of the podcast. It's called Persons of Interest. Would love it if people would look it up. I haven't done an episode in a few weeks, but I try to do one at least once or twice a month. So I need to do a February episode here soon, but I've been a little busy to get one in the can. But I'm excited to be here tonight and hang out with you.
What do you have anybody in mind for your next episode on Persons of Interest?
That's a good question. So I do keep a short list of folks that I would like to interview. I've actually gone through, I think I'm about 43 or 44 episodes in. And I've talked to, most folks are pretty willing to do it. Just reach out to them on Twitter, or shoot them a DM and say, hey, you have 30 minutes or an hour, and tell them. And most folks are willing to do it. Right now, one guest I would like to get is actually one of my former bosses. So I used to work in college athletics for 8 years, and my former boss is retiring at the end of this year as commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference. So I'd love to get him on an episode because he's got some great stories. I mean, he's one of the trailblazers of college athletics. His name is Doug Elgin. I don't know how many folks are college basketball fans or anything like that, but I would love to do a 30-minute, hopefully hour sit down with them. I've already dropped a hint to them, but it's just a matter of lining up the schedules.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, and it's not even people like to that scale. It's, average Joes. It's anyone that's got a unique background, unique story that I like to dig in and find out how, why, when, and everything else about their life.
Well, I would say I would say you're kind of the way you kind of got into lawn care is very similar to a lot of how I think most people in the chat and probably watching and that will watch this episode in the future it's very similar to, how you got into it, and probably still how you currently are. Like, I know just how Mark and I kind of talked about last week. You know, it's really about finding the level of what you're comfortable with having your lawn at. And I feel
Right.
like what you and probably myself are probably where our lives will allow us and what we're most comfortable with having our lawns right now. We maybe want to be out there, you know, more so, but we all have responsibilities and full-time jobs, and that's just kind of a hobby in those things. So that's why I think like what you do and how you kind of came into the community is very relatable to a lot of people that come into this show and just watch it in the first place. So that's why I think it's awesome to have you on, because not only are you a local guy, and that's what I kind of wanted to. I had trouble naming this podcast or this episode, and I kind of named it a little bit after
I like it.
your podcast, but because I initially named it like finding your local lawn care nut, because I think we get so tied to people in the lawn care community and on YouTube
Yeah.
and that from a distance, but I feel like there's so many people that are probably really close to us or around us that are just as enthusiastic about it, that are our next door neighbor or something like that. Now, obviously, I know you've shared some pictures with me and we've talked about it that your neighbors probably aren't lawn care nuts or so.
Yeah, from the drone photo, who I know there's one neighbor that pays for a lawn service that comes out a few times, and if he doesn't have time to mow, but yeah, I'm definitely. I don't want to say the envy, but I probably care a little too much more than the folks around me. But it's like a sense. It's like a little bit of a sense of pride. Like I love the curb appeal of it, and that's honestly why I got into it, because it was like, oh, look at that one. And I'll be honest, like some of my neighbors across the street, they definitely say, I don't know what you do, but it just looks like a golf course. It's great. It's like, well, it's a little time and effort and a little bit of money out of the bank account here and
Yeah,
there, and do some things and sharpen the blades and this and that. And then I get to thinking about it, it's like, oh yeah, then I water this and I water that and I got hoses for that and I do this. Oh yeah, but I wouldn't know all that stuff unless from watching videos of folks that have tried it before me
right.
and using tips. So pretty organic. I mean, like literally, I think I was looking up the best time to water lawns, and I found Alan's video, and the next thing you know, I'm buying his guide, and I'm following every video, and I'm subscribing. Then I'm like, I found Ryan's stuff, and I'm like, oh, and it's just like these guys can figure it out. I can figure it out. And the next thing you know, I'm making a do-it-yourself striper. It's just like, what in the world's going on here? And next thing you know, my garage is filled with zip ties and hedge trimmers and electric lawn equipment and all this stuff that I feel is necessary for me to do a regular Saturday chore. But I guess it's not just a regular Saturday chore for me. It's more of a it's not a chore. I mean, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
It's a little, throw on the headphones, put on a podcast, or listen to some music, and take my time. Unless it's too hot, but take my time doing it and do it the right way.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna post that drone photo you just talked about here in a minute, but I want to get to some people, everybody, and give some shout outs in the chat. Just say hello to everybody here, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. We got Super TA, we got Left Tool, Lawn to Learn. Let's see. Nestor Reyes, Bush League Lawns representing from St. Louis as well.
Yeah,
Brandon
I've seen
Mitchell.
his videos too. By the way, I've seen his videos too.
We
I saw you guys did together.
Yeah, he came over. He let me use his Time Master. That was the first time I ever used a Time Master. It was a lot of fun hanging out with him, and hopefully we get to do some more work together here this year, and just get to know each other a little bit better. Maybe play a round of golf again as well. Let's see, the lawn analyst. We got the elevated lawn landscapes. What's going on, Cam? Michael L. And growing with Greg Ortiz. He's another, or she, sorry. She's another one in here all the time. I just, Derek, you kind of remind me of some of the, or a lot of the people that show up in the chat or that show up in the comments of people's YouTube videos, because that's what I feel like you're one of those people that are watching everybody's content. You may not be a YouTube content creator like some of us, but you're a frequent watcher of all of these guys that are making YouTube videos about lawn care. And that's another reason why I wanted to bring you on the show, just to, because everybody, we all have our audience, and I feel like sometimes our audience doesn't get the recognition they should, and you're a little bit of a representation of that audience, I feel like, and that's why I wanted to bring you on, because I know you're a frequent watcher of my videos and many others in the community, and we really appreciate that kind of support and from everybody in the community. So
Well, I might as well watch somebody else do something to their lawn and see if they damage it before I go and do it to
there
mine.
you go. Hey, that's exactly right. We got Ron
There's
Henry
some,
in here too. Thanks so much for tuning in, Ron. I appreciate that. I wanted to get to that drone shot you were talking about. Derrick sent me a few of his photos that from his lawn, and I really like this drone photo that he was mentioning here just a second ago. I know it might be a little delayed for you, Derrick, but you know exactly what photo I'm talking about. Um, I when I first saw this photo, he shared it with me. It was one that he posted on the St. Louis Lawn Care Nut group. Uh, the property line is so defined. I don't even have that defined of a property line, and that is outstanding. Um, that's just really cool. When was this taken? Do you remember?
I think this was this summer. This was back. This might have been before the heat of the summer. This might have been May or June before it got too hot and things were going great. Things were pretty good all summer, all this season for me, quite honestly. Um, but yeah, the dark green, like I did when I took that picture, I go, wow, like is that legit? Like that's no Photoshop, folks. It's just it is what it is. So, and I know my way around Photoshop, and there's no Photoshop in that one. But that was also either just a few weeks after that might have been right after Memorial Day, so after a Milorganite treatment. That's why it's that deep, deep green. So yeah, that's in pretty good shape right there. And when you mow tall, do all that stuff, because I don't think I was even I was late watering this season. That's one thing I remember. I didn't put out the hoses so I do a big uh I can't remember who I saw that did it. It might have been someone in the group, in the Facebook group that I was part of. Uh I did a big wireless above ground sprinkler system. So I ran hoses all around my house, behind the bushes, and set up. But I didn't get that done until I think June or July. Like I was late getting the hoses out for irrigation. But yeah, things were pretty good, and that was definitely earlier in the season. I'd gotten that drone last year, and I'll be honest, I don't do a whole lot with the drone besides fly it above the house, and that's it. Um, and I did it for a buddy's too. I did it to take picture of his lawn. So yeah,
What
that's probably the number one use of my drone is the lawn pictures, unless I take it to a park or somewhere, because I'm working on getting the legit drone license and certification and everything. It's a test you have to
Okay,
take, but I just keep it out of the public so I don't crash
sure.
it. And I don't want to be one of those drone people that fly to over baseball stadiums and then they crash and get in trouble and ruin it for everybody else. So.
What kind of drone do you use?
Yeah, I see it in the chat. Mine is a DJI Mavic Air. So they don't even make the Mavic Air anymore. They make a Mavic Air 2. So I've had mine for about 2 years, 2 or 3 years, I think. And I love it. It's pretty easy to use and it's awesome. I mean, it literally hovers in the air without you doing anything, and it's very steady. Anyone can pick it up. So I started with a toy drone, and I realized, well, this isn't what I want it to be, and the pictures were terrible. And then I got a beginner drone, which is also sort of had the DJI, I guess, system built in. And then once I realized that one, I could control it, I learned how to fly it properly. I found one on sale. The DJI Mavic Air was on sale at Target a few years ago, and I went and pulled the trigger on it and said, "All right, I guess I'm doing this," and I love it. I love it. So I think before I buy another one, if I need to upgrade, and this one's a pretty good drone. I mean, it's legit. But if I ever did want to upgrade, I need to upgrade with the reason. So I would have to. I'm going to make myself take the test and have the legit certification so you can fly over people and fly and do things for
Sure.
profit. Because I photography is another one of my hobbies, and I do love messing around, taking pictures, and aerial photography obviously is a unique perspective. So yeah, that's I mostly use it for the lawn right now.
I've always wanted to get a drone. It's just been more of a pricey thing. When I look at the price, I'm like, I think I'd rather spend the money on something else. But I do eventually want to get one. I know like one of the ones that I believe you don't have to get an official license or register with the FAA. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
the Mavic Mini? Uh,
Yep. If it's under a
yep.
certain weight, you don't have to have it registered and all that jazz. So the Mavic Mini qualifies for that. It literally is built and sized and the weight on purpose so that it is not required to be registered with the FAA.
That's one thing I've considered getting because I've noticed it being on sale with like on a pack because I'm a Costco member, so sometimes it's on like a
Yeah,
package deal there, and I'm like, oh, it's tempting. Like I want to try it because it'd be cool footage to put on a video or something like that, or just to I don't know fly around. I've never flown a drone before, so I don't know.
that's what Ryan Knorr he uses a drone in his lawn videos. I mean, and he's a
Oh
great
yeah,
editor too.
yeah.
His stuff super. It makes me think, man, I'm creative. I do video stuff. I have got a drone, but he takes the time and does it so awesome. His is another. His channel is one of my favorites. I probably look at his stuff uh, a lot just because of the drone. Because I know he'd break out the drone and show off the footage and
Yeah,
everything. So maybe I can get to that level one day. I don't know.
he's definitely his cinematography, is that what it's called? It's next level. I would put his second to none in our lawn care community as far as his just
Yeah.
editing style. He's really good at just telling a story. Because I don't know if you watch his channel where it's just his normal lawn Ryan Knorr
Yes.
channel,
Mhm.
where he just does some just kind of cool stories on there. He's just really good at just kind of capturing the moment, telling a story through those shots that he's getting, and using those shots to tell a story. I mean, it's just I just appreciate that a lot. In some way like it reminds me of like music videos where I appreciate really good music videos that kind of obviously there are some music videos that are like what is they doing in relation to this song, but there are some music videos that like they kind of relate and tell the story, and I think that's what Ryan Knorr does really well with his stuff. um
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So someone in the chat, Lawn Journeys, had asked if any of my neighbors were trying to top me. Doesn't look like it, but do they try if anyone upped their game? So that's a good question because I often wondered if anyone was paying that much attention. I don't think anyone really cares. So my neighborhood's kind of unique where there's a few more retired folks. It trends a little older. So I do have a neighbor across the street. He takes pretty good care of his lawn. He actually pays for a lawn service to come out and do some trimming, and they may do some fertilizer treatment and things like that. But besides that, everyone's sort of like mowing is really a chore. It's like, all right, I got to get out there and do it because this guy's over here mowing his lawn for the second time this
yeah,
week. He did it Wednesdays. Now he's doing it Saturday again. But I don't think they're watching the channel that the stuff that I'm watching. So, but I will say, my backyard, I have some neighbors behind us, and they take really great care of their lawn. They have different types of grass, and then they cut it. It's theirs is like a golf course. They redid some of their stuff in their backyard, have a little water feature and things like that. Their lawn's awesome. Theirs awesome. And when I was trying to improve my backyard, they noticed and they appreciated. You've really gotten this grass over here growing, like one spot behind a willow tree that I've got and one spot behind the fence. They're like, I don't know what you did to get it like this, but it's never looked like that before you all moved in, and we've been living in our house for 10 years. It's just taking me this long to get the backyard under control because there were so many weeds. It just took time, and I
yeah.
just had to out, man, I've got to actually get the pre-emergent down way earlier than I was. Like every year, it was like, okay, I guess do it earlier, do it earlier. This year, I finally did it. I got it done like that first weekend in March or something like that, and I was about 89% weed free. I had some kick up in there, but I think I did a really good job at it this year, and it was noticeable. So I'm excited for the backyard this year because my front yard's in great shape. My backyard took a huge step forward this year, and I'm looking forward, hopefully, to having time to get that back in tip top shape and have both the front and backyard be Milorganite bag picture quality, I guess.
There you go. Yeah. So what you were just talking about in relation to uh, how long it took you just to kind of get things kind of put together and looking the way
Yeah.
you wanted it to look, I think that's a great kind of segue into beginners and those types of things like uh, having those realistic expectations starting out and what to expect. Like, what would you say for somebody that's let's say they just found the lawn care community. They're wanting to improve their lawn by minimizing the weeds. What has been your experiences for like what has been the most thing that's improved the most and thing that you really needed to get nailed down to start improving those things to start to see a noticeable difference?
Well, the thing that improved the most was just overall color of the lawn. But I think that was a factor of figuring out I needed to mow taller and when to water. That was the easy thing because I just sort of, like the regular person, took the mower out there and, oh, it's too tall. Let's mow it. That's one thing, but to mow it at the highest height of my mower setting and just have an even cut, I realize it's
Yeah.
different. So like, if my wife gives me trouble, she goes, "Yeah, I didn't realize you don't keep the lawn that tall. So I figured you were going to mow this week." Like she knows I keep it's pretty tall, but I know when I do mow, that's how I get the
Yeah.
color. So like in the fall when I go out and gradually take the height down so that I can do um, the fall work on it to get aeration done and everything like that. I start to see like, okay, it's like this year when I did that, it was still pretty
Mm-hmm.
green. When I cut it down to 2 inches or lower, I'm like, wow. So it really, it was in good shape because that first year I did it, it was brown. Like when I, you know, took it down lower and lower, it just got brown. I'm like, ooh, the base is not as strong, but it held this year. So yeah, figuring that out was the first easy solution was mowing tall and figuring out water because I was just one of those people. I got home from work. Oh, I need to water it. It needs some water, and that was 5 o'clock, 5:30. I had no idea you needed to water early in the morning so that you can get it down and then it would be in the lawn all day long and then dry. And knowing that if you watered in the night, it would sit there and create fungus and mold. I didn't realize all that stuff. I just figured, hey, it needs water. I'm going to give it some
Yeah.
water. Learning all that stuff was eye opening. I realized it made a huge, huge difference. So that was the easy thing. Patience is what I would also preach because it's not an overnight thing. And I've tried to tell people that when I tweet out pictures on Saturday, I say, lawn work complete, and everyone goes, "What are you doing to your lawn to get it like that?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a long story." And I tell them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like all that?" And I'm telling them about I fertilize this many times a year, and I do this, and I do that, and I do this, and I do that, and I sharpen my blades. And they're like, "Oh," and they sort of get overwhelmed. I'm like, these are all things to me that I'm like, if I could spend a Saturday just doing it, it's no big deal. It's not a couple hours on a Saturday, fine. Um, but the patience factor. When I say patience, knowing when I put down fertilizer, it's not an instant
Right.
fix. It's gonna take some time for it to settle in. If I have mold or fungus issue, when you put down something, it's gonna take some days for it to, clear it up. When you water, it takes some time for that brown to get back to green. When you want to prevent weeds, it might take a season. You gotta be patient.
Yep.
So I didn't realize that at first until I said, okay, in the fall, I'm going to do all this in September and October to prepare myself for the next
Yeah.
year, and realizing, hey, the winter, and let it do its thing. And when I come back, March is when I'm going to be on it. I'm going to prepare myself, and I'm going to tell myself mentally or put it down on the calendar. I'm going to prepare and get these things I need to put down in the yard to get ready. So, like right now, man, the winter is like so bad. I miss being out there for one, just being outside. It's it's one of the things. Like I run, I do yard work, and those are my sort of hobbies, and that's my release. So yeah, the patience was definitely a thing. That's definitely key because it none of the things we can do to our lawn make it happen overnight, or happen immediately. Besides mowing it, that's the one thing you do that's an immediate
Yep.
fix, quote unquote. So um, those are lessons. Those are lessons. So, but besides that, man, I I've only done a soil test once, and I've just sort of stayed steady with everything I've done because I'm not trying to do anything too crazy. I just want to keep my grass looking
Yeah.
good. So I'm a keep it simple, stupid guy.
Well, and I think that's perfectly fine because I think sometimes uh I think sometimes when you get really into the lawn care stuff, um it doesn't take much time until you're starting to go overboard and you start to forget about
Yeah.
those simple things. Um because like I said, it's a common trend of what I've asked you, what I've asked Mark, what I've asked Matt, uh, which are all different spectrums of education and knowledge in this realm of things. And the most common things are mowing and watering, and it's not diving into those, uh, fertilizing or this, that, and the other. And now we did talk about soil testing being another good base thing to do to help understand what we're doing throughout the year as far as making appropriate applications to the lawn. But fundamentally, the most important things too that we do that the most often to the lawn that are going to impact the lawn the most is mowing and watering. And it's just good to hear that from all spectrums of knowledge. So even hearing it from Matt's perspective, from Mark's perspective, from your perspective, I would take that saying like, okay, Matt's like the expert. He works in the field. He's that's his day to day job. He does that for a living. And
Right.
here you are, you're your average homeowner taking care of your lawn, learning from people like Matt and people in the middle as well, like Mark and those types of things that have just done a ton of self education. And even still, like going from that spectrum, you're still finding people. The thing that I've found to be the most helpful is mowing properly, watering properly, and everything else will just kind of fall in line once you do that because it's very easy to overcomplicate things and not to try to simplify what we do in as far as lawn care because it does need to have some respect as far as understanding what to apply, when to apply, and those types of things, and how much to apply.
Exactly.
But it's those basic things. If you're not doing those basic things, nothing else really matters because you're not the things you do the most often to the lawn are going to make the biggest impact to your overall result, which is watering and mowing. So um, I
You
think,
said it right there.
yeah,
You said literally. I mean, the one thing that I was mostly challenged with was when I wanted to fix an area of the yard, and I needed to seed, and I was like, okay, that's an investment. You mean buying grass seed and you know fingers crossed, hoping that it works, because you can buy grass seed and it doesn't grow. That's a waste of money.
yep,
And I don't want to buy just the regular old cheap grass seed and just put anything down. I need to get something decent, and I want to match the rest of the lawn. But that's an investment, and I don't want to just burn money and just give it away.
yeah,
Knowing when to plant it, how to water it, and how to have it all, how to get it to grow properly. That was a learning experience for me. I mean, I would immediately say, "Oh my gosh, I've got a spot here. I need to get some grass seed for," and it's August 15th. So I'm running to Home Depot on August 15th, and I'm throwing down grass seed and I'm watering it, and I'm like, okay, I'll water it tomorrow because it probably needs some water. Well, it's not working because guess what? It needs more than just me watering it once a day. Like I realized, oh, I need to set a schedule and keep this thing wet for days. Because guess what? If it just dries out, it will never grow. I
Right.
can't just water at 5 o'clock when I get home every day. So I realized. So I ended up getting a remote sprinkler system for my phones. I could schedule it and I could control it from anywhere I have internet access. That was a thing for me. Um, Figuring out when I needed to plant grass. I'd tell myself in July or August, I'm not buying grass seed. No, I'll buy it in at the end of August when it goes on sale, and I'll put it down in September or October and get it to grow then,
Yeah.
and it'll be strong the next year. Because I didn't know that. I mean, you see grass seed on the shelf year round, but the bags don't say plant this at this time. Well, maybe some of them do, but I needed a guy like Alan and like yourself to put it in my face and say the best time to do this is the fall growing season.
Yep.
I had never that was the best thing. That blew my mind. Alan's little graph that showed March and the grass growing, and then April, May, June, and then July, August that it would slow down, and then September, October we got another growing season here in
Yep.
the northern area. I'm like, I never knew that. That was like mind blowing to me. And it literally just following the directions worked. I mean, I put down grass seed and it just came back to life in a matter of like weeks. I mean, this year was a great example. I wish I would have taken pictures of the process of dethatching, aerating, putting down the seed, and then watching it come back because the spots that I filled in came back so strong, came back so green, and all I did was did basic stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, and to your other question about what I learned and my own advice, I never knew the difference between the organics and the synthetics. I would just go and you see, and again, I'm not bragging on any brand or anything, and it is what it is. You find what works for you and what you can afford or whatever, and roll with it. I'm not gonna tell anyone what they should or shouldn't be buying. I know what I've got experience with and I'm comfortable with.
Yep.
But when I first started out, I was buying Scots. I was buying stuff that I thought, oh, this will work. And I, the first time I used some of that stuff when I found one of Alan's videos, I burned the heck out of my lawn, man. I mean, it turned yellow brown so fast, and I didn't pay attention to application rates or anything, and I just not the entire lawn, but spots of it I torched bad. And that's when I realized, ooh, maybe I didn't do something right. And that's when I backed off and took another look. And that next year I said, oh, what's this Milo organite stuff?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it makes a difference. And it was a little bit easier or safer for
Sure.
me. It's been my go to. I can't destroy my lawn, but at the same time, it's natural, it's organic, and it's safer, and it's for me, I'm more comfortable using it. So again, it's just a matter of figuring out what I was comfortable with and whatnot. So, and that's on cue. Someone asked in the chat, what products do I use? um, so I can tell you, I started when my first year of success. I actually started with the Menards program. I bought on schedule. They had a little
Hmm.
brochure if you go into your local Menards, a little brochure that shows what bag to use and when. I just
I
did that,
love
and
Menards.
it's a great store. It's a great store. And it's one right down the street from about 2 miles down the road from my house in St. Peter's
Yep.
here.
That's
But
that's the one I have to go to around here because I don't have one
okay,
my way. Menards is like the Walmart of hardware stores because you can buy
yeah,
food.
cheaper prices.
Yeah, and you can buy anything from food all the way to lumber. Like,
Yes. Yeah, they've got Cheez-Its, they've got licorice, milk, and then you go out, you can buy some fertilizer, they got candy, they've got barbecue grills, they've got doors, plumbing. I mean, it's a one-stop shop of a store, but I was using their little Menards lawn program and just putting down bag by month of what they said, and it worked. It didn't work super great, but it worked. But I was easing my way into it, and that's when I figured out they had organic types of comparable Milorganite product, and I was trying that, and then I realized, oh, this Milorganite stuff that's the guy had. That's what he had in the video. Let me try this. And this was before the Milorganite craze happened a few summers ago. Um, so I started with the Menard stuff, switched to Milorganite, and then I was just doing that fertilizer, and in the fall I used Menard's fall
Mm-hmm.
winterizer fertilizer stuff, and that's what I did that first year. I really got into it when I needed to kill some fungus or something like that. I just used, Scott's or something. If I found something online, like I would go to Amazon. I'd find something Amazon to have on sale, and I would just buy it because I wasn't throwing that stuff down a ton. I was throwing it down as needed, um, and that was really it. It was simple. I have a uh, sprinkler system. Let me see the brand that it is. The It's another thing I'll share. I've got smart lights, smart garage door opener, and all that jazz. And I have the Melnor Rain Cloud,
Oh,
which
right on.
is it hooks up to your outdoor
Yep.
spigot, and it's got four spigots coming off of it, and you can control those from. So the Melnor Rain Cloud, I ran my hoses around. That's what I use to water, and that's pretty much it. I've got a Honda mower. I've got two sets of blades. I sharpen them with what I call the Ryan Knorr blade sharpening system with the elbow grinder sander thing, and I do it once a month. I try to switch my blades out every 30 days. So if I'm mowing once a month, every four mows, but out. So that's the program. I guess I should document it for those that are curious because it's not crazy, but when I think about it, I'm doing a lot of stuff. Like I didn't think of it at one point, but I'm actually doing a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. And then it comes to fall, I go and rent an aerator. I've got a Greenworks dethatcher that I bought off of Amazon, and it's like clockwork. I just do it all over again. Then when it comes to seed, this year, I bought some Black Beauty
Okay.
for the first time. I found it at Ace Hardware, a local Ace Hardware store, and I was like, "Ooh, they've got Black Beauty. I've never been able to find it in a store like that." So I got all giddy and got all excited, and I put that down, and that's why I was so proud of how the grass came in because that Black Beauty, man, the color, the way it came in, the feel of the grass. I legit did the hand thing when that stuff was growing. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it comes back after the winter and all the snow we've been getting this week and supposedly going to get next week here in the St. Louis area.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
it always every winter I'm always, you and I both see kind of how brown the lawns turn, and you're always like, man, it's hard to envision it like how, this is gonna turn green again, and then when you look back at like fall and spring and summer
yeah,
pics, you're like, wow, it's amazing how quickly it turns. Because I remember I was
yes,
looking at videos from last spring, when I feel like the lawn coming out of winter was doing much worse than what I think it's going to do this year, was way more brown than what it currently is. And by, I can't remember if it was like late March, early April, it was pretty green looking on those on my old
yeah,
videos. And it's just it's always interesting to see, nature come to life when we come out of winter, and birds are chirping, trees are blooming, flowers are blooming. It's just kind of it is really cool to see all that, and we always forget like how quickly that happens, or at least I do. I don't know if we
yes.
all do, um, but yeah.
I paid for attention now being a lawn care nut because I'm always I'll stick the chest out a little bit when the grass turns greener than how everyone else is in the neighborhood. It'll be like, oh, mine's green already. Yours is still brown
Yeah,
and yellow.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to jump over to somebody asked Jay. I'm not Figurio Figuera. He said, any tips on getting rid of clover? I've got centipede and Bermuda. Can't seem to find any products safe for those types of grasses. Jay, I don't really know. I can't really recommend anything because I'm not well versed on a lot of different products for warm season grasses. I'd have to just recommend you over to like Matt Martin. He would probably be able to help you out there, or here on that topic. But I don't feel comfortable really recommending anything. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just a DIYer that has learned quite a bit from people, but there's still a large amount of information that I still don't know, so I can't always recommend things. And I will admit, when something's outside of my scope of knowledge, I will always recommend them to go to someone else that I know will be able to direct them in a better direction than I can. So
I will tell you, here in our northern cool season area, I had tons of clover in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And what worked for me, and again, I don't know if this is going to work on a warm season lawn, but Spectracide Weed Stop.
Okay.
So they make a granular product in a bag, and they also make a liquid product that you can hook up to your hose and spray. That stuff, as long as you follow the application rates, that's my go-to for pre-emergent or a safe weed killer that you can apply just blanket over the lawn without it harming the lawn. Spectracide Weed Stop is actually my go-to for pre-emergent or a weed killer.
Do you know?
So
Does it have a pre-emergent and post-emergent mix with it?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. I'm gonna actually go in and type it now because of the beauty of having multiple monitors on my screen here, multitask. But it's a product that I've really I don't want to say I've lived and died by it, but at the beginning of the season, that's actually what I put down in March.
Okay.
And it does a really good job of controlling, and it may take one more application later on. And man, like this year, I put that stuff down like the second weekend in March in my backyard, and it was like a world of difference. Because
do you know what the active ingredient is for the pre-emergent?
I'm gonna go double check.
I'm gonna guess. I bet it's like pendimethalin or something like that.
Okay, Spectracide Weed Stop. So I see that tells you how I'm a DIY because I knew what to look for, but I didn't know top of my head because it also kills nutsedge because I have a huge nutsedge problem in my front yard. Let's see. No, this is so small. It's that font's so tiny I can't even see it. But it kills crabgrass, dandelions, chickweed, clover, nutsedge. Oh, I wish I could see that active ingredient on it. Now I'm going to see if it's got it on the product description. Maybe I should go to their website. But it's a product I have come to trust, and it has worked for me pretty well. I don't want to derail the show.
No, you're good. We actually, guys, we didn't actually. I just caught Derrick in the middle of work because he's got so many screens. He's actually working while being on the podcast.
Sometimes that happens. Okay, here we go. Sometimes that actually does happen. Let's see what they say. Their active ingredient is Spectracide Weed Stop for lawns. Kills all kinds of weeds. Yada yada yada. Easy to use product. And someone in the chat's probably going to beat me to this. Okay, active ingredients: 2,4-D, and I've heard Alan say this, and I always botch it. Dimethylame salt. It also has microcrop. This is great podcast stuff here. 2,4-D's in it. That's one I've definitely heard Alan and other guys say. It also has sulfentrazone, dicamba. There you go. See, you're smart. You are an expert.
No, don't call me that. I'm just wondering what the pre-emergent. I ingredient is in that? Because I know 2,4-D is a post-emergent,
Yeah.
and I think sulfentrazone is a post-emergent as well. But I'm not. I'm curious what they have in there for the pre-emergent. Not to say I'm asking for you to find that out, but just curious off the top. If anybody can find that out, feel free to throw that up in the chat.
Again, and it may not be a true pre, but I tried it in March and it worked, and I knew I needed another application of it because it just didn't kill it all, but it worked for me. So the specs on it. This product is intended for use by homeowners on residential lawns, including cool season turf grass, Kentucky bluegrass, perennial ryegrass, fescue, including tall, red, and fine leaf fescues, bent grass, warm season turf grass, Bermuda grass, zoysia grass, St. Augustine, centipede. Do not apply to zoysia grass just emerging from dormancy, as it may result in lawn damage.
Does it say it takes care of clover? Because this particular guy was
Uh,
looking for.
I believe, yes.
Okay.
Controls most common weeds, including blah 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 blah. Clover, two different
Well,
types
there
of
you go.
clover.
It said it's safe to apply to centipede and Bermuda. Derek, you can throw that up in the chat if.
Yeah, I'll link to it. Let's see. And this is going to be the product on their website, and they've got, like I said, they've got the bag, the spread, the granular, and they've got a spray, a liquid product. And let's see if I can just link to if they have a general page. Okay, here we go. I'm going to link to this page and put it in the chat. Go back to YouTube because I've got lots of screens. Boom. There it is. I just put it in because I can figure out technology.
Well, I would hope so, since you work in a.
I know. I'm a communications, graphic design, video,
Yeah,
podcast guy. I should be able
exactly.
to, right? I may not know my pre-emergent what products work for me. So yeah. But like I said, that's one of the basic. It's a big box store. I buy it at either Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart. It's not hard to find. It doesn't sell out as frequently as Milorganite. It's pretty easily accessible, but as long as you use it the right way, at the right time, I've had pretty good luck with it. So people are correcting me in the chat, thankfully, because I'd hate to be spreading misinformation about the products I use. But yeah, like I said, personal experience for me, it's worked out pretty well. I just know after like several different uses of it, I know it works in certain temperatures. I know not to put it down in above 90 degrees. I'm just wasting my money, and it's going to either harm the lawn or not work at all. So it's just that kind of stuff. You figure out what you need to do, and when you need to
Yeah.
do it, and how to do it.
Well, that
So,
goes back to you were talking about trying to kind of hone on the skill of finding the right time to apply your pre-emergent or weed control each year, and I can relate to that in regards to fungicide, because
yeah,
that's just something I've always had a problem with every year. This new lawn was especially bad. The old lawn at the older house, I had some fungus problems, but it wasn't near what I had at this one. And
really?
I've always had an issue. I always wait too late. I always like once the humidity and everything always catches me off guard, and I'm at that point in time, it's too late. It's like,
And that's tough in our
yes,
climate. Like St. Louis, when it gets so hot in the heat of the summer, like you're fighting. If you haven't kept your lawn in the shape, like I realized if I didn't water leading into August and things like that, it's going to be an uphill battle to get it back to what I want it to be. So you're right, man. And it's just when you live and you
yep,
learn. I mean, you're probably
exactly.
live and you learn. You figure out what I did last year, I don't want to do again this year.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was alluding to. Is it's like, as a DIYer, you're gonna, when you talk about patience, you're going to have to, that first year, the first 3, I would say maybe even the first 5 years, there's going to be something every year that you're gonna be like, oh crap, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was going to happen. I messed up. Because you can do everything. You can try to educate yourself as much as possible, which is a really good thing. Don't stop that. Don't stop the potential mistakes from, or don't let the potential mistakes from stopping you from learning. But the experience and failure is going to be some of the most important things to teach you, and learn from as you move forward with caring for your lawn. Um, because there's always going to be something. And I would say, like with my situation with fungus, I always know I'm getting it down too late, from a preventative perspective. And here in the transition zone in St. Louis, we have humidity and fungus, like the disease triangle, as Alan, calls it. That's around that is around here in St. Louis, probably from late April, early May, all the way to end of August, beginning of September. So we have disease pressure that long, and that's just kind of it. You'll like for me, I know this year, I don't care. I don't care what the weather's doing. Well, I will pay attention to that, but I always know the weather can catch me off guard. I can look at the forecast and it can always just be completely different. I'm going to be more diligent about, maybe mid-April, late April. I need to get my preventative fungicide down because I know I had a really bad issue with it last year, and still work on, other things within the soil as well. Because that's one thing I learned from Matt last year is working on the fungus problem and getting rid of that fungus problem while still trying to, in a way, amend the soil, helping the pH and those types of things. So, yeah, like I said, each year I would say I shouldn't even say the first 5 years, because I bet if I had a professional in here, they're going to say you're going to learn something every year you do something.
Yes. Yes.
But I would say maybe the first 5 years are going to be the most influential, or where you're going to make the most mistakes and learn from. Like, you're going to think you have it figured out, and once you have it figured out, that's when it's going to most likely throw you for a loop, and you're not going to have it figured out at all. So,
shout out to Elevated Landscapes. I knew there were people in the chat smarter than me, but he said the Spectracide granular, which is usually my go-to. I always usually go to the granular product, but he said it has
dithiopyr. I think it's pronounced dithiopyr.
Not a sign,
but I think Alan sometimes pronounces it dithiopyr, but I think it's actually pronounced dithiopyr, but I could be wrong.
Well, shout out to Elevated Landscapes, who says that acts as the pre-emergent, which is why I probably had success with it when I put it down in March and stopped a lot of the clover. And my backyard got those fun little yellow sunflowers that we all love, that kids think are cute, but we're like, oh, those things are popping up. I had none of those. This year, and I was super pumped that Spectracide stuff did its job on that. I had none of those. I still had a little bit of clover, a little bit of broadleaf, but yeah, it was much better. And I'm looking forward to the backyard being in much better shape this year. So thanks, folks in the chat. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you, Cam, and thank everyone else who at Lawn Journeys. He posted the chemical active ingredients as well. Thank you guys for your help. One of the biggest tools every time when I'm mowing, I actually carry a big, it's probably like, I don't know, 10, 12 inches long. It's a really big, fat, flathead screwdriver that I have in my pocket, because I know I'm bound to find a weed or two that I know I could easily drive the screwdriver down next to the root base and pop it out. Because that's what I'll do. Like, I'll have a couple dandelions that pop up along the curb or something like that, and that's what I do. I'm like, I'm not going and grabbing a weed killer. I'm just gonna. I know I can slide this down the
I'm so afraid
right at its base, and I know I can, because if you slide it, because it's got a big long tap root. So what I do is I pull up all the leaves and I slide the screwdriver down into the ground and just kind of start angling it. And you can kind of hear it pop the tap root, and generally sometimes it'll come back, but I would say more times than not, the dandelion's done and I don't see it anymore, and then I just throw the weed in the street and let it burn from the heat. But that's some of my weed control as well. I don't always.
I don't pull a lot of weeds myself. I tend to want to go and spray because I my fear is that I don't get the root and it's just going to come back or come back stronger. So I want to spray and pray. That's my thing. I rather if I mow over and I see it, I'm going to just go back and spray, and that's my thing because I'm really fearful if I just pull, I'm going to cause more damage. So that's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, nut sedge and stuff like that. I don't do that too because
Oh,
we, for those that may be watching that don't know, which I'm sure there aren't anybody in here that doesn't know this, but obviously pulling nut sedge can increase it to spread and those types of things. So I usually just do that to the weeds that I know, like a dandelion or something like that, that I can easily get out. But that reminded me, one of the things I like about um, having Derrick on the show is I know a lot of people in the chat and people that are currently watching probably know a lot of the things. Everything we've talked about tonight are probably things that you already know about, or your knowledge.
or they know how to pronounce the
Sure,
words.
and your knowledge is way above of what we've talked about. But I always think it's important to, because I'm to come back to these really basic things from a DIY perspective, because I know some people that watch my channel are DIYers, they're first timers, and they're probably not an hour long into a podcast, so this may be irrelevant to bring this up, but I like to bring it back to these types of things because I know a lot of times I shouldn't say a lot, or yeah, a lot of times the homeowners or DIYers are just starting out. As much as you think these basic things are known or they're like common sense, they're not. And Derrick kind of pointed that out earlier in the show. Just like he's like, I didn't realize watering at the right time of day could make such a huge difference. I didn't realize mowing more frequently could make such a big difference. So I appreciate everybody staying tuned, tuning in, because I know some of this could be like, oh, boring. This is like lawn care 101 or something like that.
Right.
But I think it's always important to
There's
bring that to light,
yeah,
those very simple
there's
things.
a lot of people that are impressed by those with a great lawn and how to get it. And even the simple stuff, they're like, "Oh, is that all it takes?" I kid you guys not. In the summer, and I might post one picture a month, and I might get people to say, "You haven't tweeted a picture of your lawn lately. We want to see what it looks like these days." And I do, and it never fails. I'll get at least one or two people. What are you doing to it? How's it? What? How in the world? But I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not, the craziest thing I'm doing is tying a PVC pipe to the thing and filling it with sand or dirt and rock and making stripes and not having a real striper. That's the oddest thing. Everything else is like water, mow, sharpen the blades. It's not complicated, but at the same time, for what everyone else is doing that may be different and more complicated, there's someone else that's just like me that's like, oh, I can do this, or I can go rent a aerator or dethatcher and figure this out. So I don't know. It's perspective. It's knowing where you are and where you feel comfortable, and I'm pretty comfortable where I am with it. And it's a matter of if I got it in a good shape, I just want to keep it there. So I'm not a science guy. I'm not a complicated guy. I wish I could figure out what the next level is, and I'm afraid. I am deathly afraid of wiping out my entire lawn and starting over. I will not do that. And I see guys do that all the time and will say, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna kill that side of the lawn and just replant it and do it." You won't find me doing that. Well, not. I mean, if I find a part of the lawn that I'm like, "Ooh, it's rough," I'm gonna just try to rehab the heck out of it and get it to where it needs to be because I've had luck
Yeah.
that way. So I'm not Ryan, or I'm just gonna pull it all out, scalp it, and I'll just throw a bunch of seed down and get it back to, I want to just destroy it and bring it back to
Well,
where I want it to be. I don't have
and
the
that's what
courage.
I think Alan does a really good job at drilling that with his program is he's not a huge advocate of burning the lawn down. I don't remember his
Yeah.
percentage ratio of good turf to weeds, but it's a pretty low percentage of actually good turf to weeds. Like that before he's saying, yeah, you should probably start all over. Like like I said, I'm not going to try to remember the ratio, but there's a lot of truth to that because, and I speak to this even though I'd never had really good pictures or YouTube videos of when I was at my old lawn, but that old lawn had a ton of crabgrass in it, and what I did one fall was I dropped the mower all the way down, cut out all the bad, or cut everything down really low, aerated it, top dressed it with compost, seeded it, and the next year it was, the following year, in spring, I put a pre-emergent down and I had zero crabgrass. And I really had very little weed pressure at all. And I had a lot of good grass. It wasn't as thick as the following year because I wouldn't say it was a full renovation, but I would say it wasn't as mature of a lawn as it could have been
Right.
because I had done a really heavy overseeding. So there was a lot of, a lot of new grass there that hadn't thickened up. So the following year, the year we moved, that spring and summer and fall, it was that front lawn was thick. It was really thick. It was good. And I equate that, and I only overseeded 1 year. And I think there's a huge testament to you don't need to always burn it down.
Yeah.
I think doing those a lot of work in the fall, cutting it down, overseeding if you can, put some compost down, and just getting on a good pre-emergent schedule, you're gonna have a good results. I mean, and then getting on those practices we talked about, like good watering, mowing frequently, and those types of things, and getting on a decent fertilizing schedule as well. Not saying that's not an important thing to do as well, but it's all those basic things that need to get honed in first before we ever dive into some of those more. I say fertilizing is a complicated thing, but those basic things need to happen before we even need to think about what fertilizer do I need to use or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's all about perspective. What are you okay with? And that's exactly what Mark and I asked about last week. He said, what lawn are you happy with? How much do you want to put into it? Because the more perfection you want to get with it, that just means the more time you're going to be out in the lawn.
Yep.
And do you have that
Yep.
kind of time or no? Or money, because
Yes.
it does take money. The larger your lawn, the more expensive it's going to be.
Absolutely. Man, that is the truth. I never realized when so and I'm going on, and again, I'm not here to promote any product or anything like that. I don't have any brands attacked. I'm not sponsored by anyone like this guy here that's got giving stuff. But I've said it before. I'm Milorganite guy, and I've had good luck with it. So I tend to be with clothes and certain things a brand loyalist. If I find something that works, a product, a brand, I tend to stick with it. Milorganite has been working for me, and I like it. Problem is, if you go to a big box store, the prices on it have just skyrocketed lately. Like going to Home Depot and buying a single bag is like 18 bucks. But I found a couple of stores. I'm going to keep those quiet because I don't want to give it away for those that might be local. But I found a couple of places that have it for 8 or 9 bucks. And if I find it on sale, like last year, I found a store that had Milo, and I bought all the bags I needed for the entire season at once because they were on sale for 8 bucks a bag. So I had the bags just stacked up in my garage for the into the fall. Um,
Your garage must have been smelling perfect then.
it had a little bit of success smell.
Yeah.
Uh, but I knew, like, man, I don't want to spend 18 bucks because I would just buy it when I needed it and throw it down. Like, well, what's wrong with me just buying it and having it? And I'm saving some money because I know I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
use it. So I just bought what I knew I needed for that year, put it in the corner of the garage, and just let it set. And when I threw it down on Memorial Day and 4th of July and so on and so forth, I had it and I was set. So because I realized, man, I don't want to pay $18 for this and this for that, and I don't want to say I'm cheap, but I like to watch how I'm spending pennies and
Sure.
not overdo
Absolutely.
it. Because I learned that lesson with grass seed. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy this grass seed and do it, and it didn't grow, and I was like so disappointed because I'm like, that's a waste of money.
Yeah.
I put down grass seed and I got nothing out of it. It's like, well, I'm never gonna do that
Right.
again. So I just figured, with the fertilizer, with all that stuff, I'm gonna buy what I know I need, and if I find it on sale, buy what I know I
Sure.
need. So that's sort of been the way I've gone about the investment of
Yep.
it. Uh, so if anyone wants to give me a Time Master, I am willing to take a free Time Master lawnmower
uh, I
because that might my next investment is an upgraded mower. Quite honestly, that's the next thing because my mower, I love my Honda, that's got the dual blades and everything. Um, that's the next step for me is to get a higher quality mower that can, a wider base, get the job done faster, better quality cut. And even though a better quality cut, I sharpen my blades all the time, so that's not the issue. But we'll see.
how
We
how
shall
big
see.
is your lawn?
My lawn is I'm about 5, 6. I'm about a little bit under 5,000
Oh
square
man, a
feet.
Time Master would make that like a 15 minute, not even a 15-minute
Oh,
mow.
and here's the funny part. So when I do my uh mowing, I stripe. I'm a striper, and I will sometimes like double the direction. So I mow, I go back again, and I go back again, and then I do the next one, and I go back, and I do the next one, and I go back. So that's sort of my thing. I sort of do multiple passes on a single stripe in whatever direction. That's sort of how I get things going. So I've probably spent doing the front yard about 30 minutes because I want those stripes to really pop. So I go in the direction the same time. So um, yeah, yeah. And in the chat, for those that have asking, yes, I have checked my levels, and I don't. So yes, it's been several years in my low, but I don't go heavy every single time. I don't always put down the standard app. I may go lighter, I may go heavier if I know. But yes, it is not out of control. But things are normal. Things are growing steady. I just know if I put stuff down, there is. I'm not worried about the levels of phosphorus versus potassium in the lawn, based on knowing, again, personal experience, knowing how much I put down the previous time. I'm not putting down a heavy dose every single time. I may go lighter. I may go heavier. It's a balancing act for me. So,
Sure.
but yeah, the key for me is I know I'm not gonna burn the lawn like I did with the Scotch product a few years ago.
Yeah,
So
Super TA does bring up a good point though, because
yes, yes,
if all you're using or all your, you're putting heavy apps down of Milorganite or fertilizers that have a heavy phosphorus, they're heavy in phosphorus, you can, or not even heavy, but if you're putting a lot of fertilizer down that has a good amount of phosphorus in it, you can be kind of overloading it, and your phosphorus levels can get really high. So that's why you just kind of have to be careful on what you are applying. I'm no expert in that. Matt Martin could go into way more detail about why that is not a good thing and those types of things, but I do know it is good to kind of switch up what you're using in your yard and kind of being aware of those things. So that's a good point to bring up, Super TA. I did want to go into reeling with Jim. He has St. Augustine and struggle. Large patches died off, I think, because of grubs or fungus. That could be. I'm not very well versed in St. Augustine. I've the only warm season grass that I know I have a very very tiny minute bit of experience with is Bermuda. I would recommend you hop over to Alan, the Lawn Care Nuts channel. He would have a lot of information for you there as to why maybe your St. Augustine had died off in large patches. It could have been fungus. It could have been grubs. but I'm just not sure. But to your other question, you said, I thought he asked, do they make? Yeah, do they make a St. Augustine seed? They do not. St. Augustine is. They do not make seed. All St. Augustine seed that actually comes off of your grass. I've been told and learned that that's actually those seeds are actually sterile, so they will not. Even if you mulch those down into the ground, they will not germinate. But it doesn't hurt to mulch that down into the ground to get just more organic material down into the soil to help um, you know, improving your soil in that way. So that's usually the way when you to for St. Augustine lawns, since you have stolons that spread across the top of the ground. They spread that way, or you can take plugs of your existing St. Augustine lawn and putting them in those bare spots, and it will help fill in those bare spots a little quicker. Doing it that way as well, and that's where staying on a good fertilization program throughout the growing season and mowing frequently can just increase that St. Augustine or speed up that St. Augustine to spread and fill in a little bit quicker in those bare spots. So just something to kind of consider for those. That's the extent of my knowledge with there. I won't try to go any further with any sort of with anything else. That's all I kind of know that I think are some basic things that can help with those things. So,
You know more than most, though. You know more than me.
well, is there any other questions?
I have a question. Do you miss the
No,
hill?
I won't even hesitate on that. I will.
That's when I first discovered you, and I'm like, this guy's mowing
Yeah,
that? Holy
uh,
smokes. Like, my backyard is on a slight incline, and I was so excited when I got a self-propelled mower for the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is night and day before my old Walmart classic mower that was just a piece of junk. But that hill, I was like,
yeah. So
what? He's
I can't remember. I don't even remember what year it was. Uh, it might have been last. Was it last fall? The last fall we were there, yeah, because I think I did. I think the last fall I was there, I did a heavy overseed. Every year I did a overseed back there because it would thin out because it just was really shady. But I had to move one of the downspouts because the soil was starting to erode away down to the downspout. So
Yep.
I had to dig it up and bury it further down. And in that process, I had to there's massive trees around there, so there's these mega roots that I keep hitting, and I was out there for hours just moving that, and then I'm like, oh my, because I had to get this all done, uh, because I was a weekend. We have 3 kids. I had to make most use of my time, and I was beat like by I almost because I did that, then I did all my seeding and put the what is it, the not the weed barrier, the I'm blanking right now, the thing you put over seed, like a seed blanket. I put that
Oh,
down
okay. Yeah.
when I was done. I was like, I wasn't blacking out at all, but I was exhausted. Like it reminded me of when I used to work out for cross country and where I was like pushing the brink of my body. Like I was just like, I need to stop. I need to go drink water. I need to eat something. But that hill was awful. I don't miss it at all. The only thing I miss about that hill is just the pure view, because we had a really cool view. When you look out the back window of our house, it's just you see trees, you don't see houses. Especially in wintertime when it snows, it's a really cool scenic view of the trees having snow on them. That's the only thing I miss about that, is just the view we had, because now our view is a cul-de-sac. But it's a give and take. We
Yeah.
have a bigger yard. We don't have a hill. and I would rather take that over um, having a hill that is just you can't do anything on. I mean, that backyard was you couldn't really do anything in that backyard.
Just a beast. Like I just could imagine. Like, do you go up and down? Do you go
I always
side?
went
And
I always went
I
side to
see.
side. That I only
Yeah,
went up and down a few times just to prove to the lawn tools I could do it. But then I
yeah.
made a video on it, and I had some comments just saying how I don't know irresponsible or dumb that was, and I'm like, I told people at the beginning of the video that this is not how you should do it. So
uh, uh,
what?
well, I don't. Like I said, I don't envy you there because, like I said, my yard is pretty flat, pretty standard. My backyard's very slight incline, but it's basic. It's not challenging. I can, do back and forth, up
Yeah,
and down. Diagonal angle pattern. I love the striped look. That's just my thing. But I just wouldn't know how to attack that. So that was the one thing that drew me to you because you had a different type of yard. You had a different thing you're dealing with. In my backyard, at some points depending on the time of day, would get pretty shaded, and I was trying to figure out how to grow grass in parts that were underneath trees, and I've got one big tree that's I need to get removed, quite honestly, and I've got three trees in one corner, and those three trees, the roots just suck up all the moisture when I try to grow grass in that area. And it took me up until this year. I think I spent 3 full years of trying to get grass to grow, and it just slowly has been taking hold. And I think this might be the year that I actually could be all green with no brown in that
yeah,
spot by those things. It's taken that long to get it to hold the grass and get the moisture to not just be dried up by the trees.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Learning from different people who have different situations going on in their yard. So
Yeah, and that's one of those things too, where sometimes grass isn't always the right plant, or isn't always the right thing to have in a particular spot of your yard. Just like what we did.
sometimes
What's
rock.
that?
Sometimes some
Yep,
rocks going down would be
that's
better.
what we did on the side of our house where we put those raised garden beds.
Yeah.
It definitely that area was not like it was doable to grow grass there, but given the traffic that's going to be there of people constantly walking there, it just made more sense not to put grass there because it's always going to be thin and those types of things, and just it's not like it's going to be a really pretty area to have lawn anyway. So just turn it into part of landscaping or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's some things that I
Yeah.
think some people just don't really realize what they should do as well. As just lawn may not be the best option there.
Right. Yeah. I definitely did that underneath in my backyard, under the deck. There was green space from the previous, and it's just you couldn't grow anything there. So I got rid of a bush, pulled out all the weeds and grass, and just put down, everything I could, and ended up with rock. And it's just cleaner. It's better to maintain. There's no weeds coming out of it. That's the way to go, and it's just better. And it's my hoses hang in those space that are neatly there in that area. So it's just better just having grass there that I don't have to worry about trying to water because it's in an awkward spot underneath the deck and all that. So yeah, that was a perfect scenario there where I just spent the weekend putting down rock and it was best case.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes grass isn't always it. Sometimes it's rock. Sometimes it's different types of things. So
Well, we are a good bit over an hour. I'm going to start wrapping up the show here.
oh, smell.
It
Yeah. I didn't realize it went that long.
time flies when you're having fun on here, Derrick.
It does. It does. I hope I didn't annoy or bother some of the more pros in the chat that know more than me. I'm glad they were there to correct us or correct me for when I said incorrect stuff. So, like I said, I am a regular average Joe trying to figure it all out. But it's fun. Like I said, I learn from others, and I will continue to learn from others.
Well, before we hop off, I wanted to show a few pictures of Derrick's lawn, one of which was part of the thumbnail, where it was. I think he took it with the drone as well. You can see some good stripes he's got going on here. Um, so just a good depiction of what a very simple. I would call you a pretty simple DIYer, Derrick, that has turned
Oh,
your lawn
definitely.
into something, a beautiful lawn.
I'm very simple.
Uh,
Not ashamed of that at all.
and here's the last one I'll show, um, where it's a. I think it's looking out from your house down to the street of some more stripes that you laid down with your Honda mower. Um, So just to show people, those beginners out there, you can have a beautiful lawn without going over the top, and getting overcomplicated. I would say Derrick keeps things pretty simple, and that's a very good thing, and okay to do. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So, Derrick, do you have anything? Can you tell people where they can find your podcast?
Sure. I guess I would tell people the first step. I am probably most active on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at ddocket, DDOCKET. My podcast is linked in my Twitter bio. Um, it is called Persons of Interest. I actually say like my hobbies and what I do and everything like that. And the last two things are wannabe photographer, sometimes podcaster. But it's funny because the link in my Twitter bio is to my podcast called Persons of Interest. It's hosted on Anchor, which is a podcast hosting platform. So if you were on there, anchor.fm, and you searched persons of interest, or just type in anchor.fm/persons of interest. You'll find it. It's got my name on it, got my Twitter handle. It's available on all those podcast platforms that you're probably heard of: Apple, Spotify, you name it, Breaker, RSS feed, everything. It's on like 10 or 12 different podcast channels. And it ranges. My last interview was with the guy who is getting ready to be the hitting coach for the St. Louis Cardinals Class A affiliate. I've talked to the marketing director of the South Bend Cubs baseball team, local St. Louis sports writer Benjamin Hockman. I don't know if folks have heard of him. He worked in Denver and New Orleans. I've interviewed him. Um, God, I'm trying to. I guess I've talked to some media folks, sports media folks, just all over the place. I mean, just a range of people. Some you heard, some you may not have heard of, but just telling their stories. That's the thing. Telling how they figured out what they wanted to do, how
Mm-hmm.
they got there, and just the process. You were one of my earlier guests in it, so the podcast itself is really, it's not time sensitive. These stories are meant where you can go back and listen
Yeah.
to them and hear these stories about just personalities and what people have done. So Ben was one of the guests that I had. Like I said, it's just several different perspectives and viewpoints of different things. So that's my most active place is Twitter. My podcast is linked there. I have an Instagram that I've just rebooted, and I'll probably take more lawn pictures and post them on Instagram. My Instagram is at ddocket. I have to get that all sorted out. I literally just got back on it the first year. I was on Instagram. I backed away. Now I'm back on it. I've got a YouTube channel. I do have a time lapse video of a lawn that I did. So I'm gonna try and post more lawn related stuff on the YouTube channel. I think.
Well, go ahead
This
and throw
I
that the link to that time lapse video up on the chat.
All
You
right.
guys can't. You
The
guys. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the time lapse video was really done like on a
No,
whim. Like it
I
was.
watched it and I was like, you did it well with the music. Like the music goes well with it. Like you did. I saw that. I'm like, the video's short. It's simple. I think a lot of people would just like watching this. Like that's a good uh little short clip. I think like I was like I would like to start doing stuff like that because it's a simple edit, and it's not overly complicated, and
Yeah.
it's simple. So you guys can find the info to his Twitter and his podcast is all linked below. The link for his podcast is to Anchor, but you can find all the different platforms that his podcast is distributed to on Anchor. So you can all find that there. But yeah.
YouTube channel is a bunch of random stuff. I mean, it's literally just random stuff. I've tested out some equipment and things like that. Some things I've edited for people, some things I've edited for myself just for fun. Me messing around with my drone. But yeah, and on August 14th, 2020, I was like, yeah, I've got two GoPros now. Let's see what I can do. And I also I don't even mess with these things anymore, but I have these glasses that have a camera right in the bridge of the frame.
Oh, that's awesome.
Didn't use those in this Enjoy the Mo video, but I just broke out both of the drone or the GoPros, and I set one up in one spot and I put one in another spot, and I just did everything, and then I moved them for a couple different shots. And it was mostly, you're right, it was about editing to the music. So
Yep.
try to do more lawn related stuff. I hate talking about what I'm doing because I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm not a pro. Like, so I don't want to say, well, I'm out in the lawn and this is what I'm doing today. So let's go out and get it done. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just know how to mow. So I think if I do more lawn videos, it'll be in this style of me mowing and just showing the status of where the lawn is at this particular time.
And
so
that's okay.
I think that process is what I think people are interested in from my perspective, because it goes through stages. So, but it doesn't have a ton of views. I didn't share it anywhere. I just posted it on my own profile. So yeah, I'll try to do a little bit more lawn stuff this year. We'll see. Especially if people have been asking me to document what I do to share it. I may have to at least post a video of me throwing down the fertilizer, throwing down the pre-emergent, mowing, how I sharpen my blades. Kind of stuff.
Those simple things, like we talked about, are important, and I think overlooked many times. So I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate it, man. This is fun. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys for sharing your knowledge, and all the other lawn pros for sharing, because that's made me better and gotten me more interested in it, and made me buy tools I never thought I needed, and buying supplies I never thought I needed, and filling my garage with all this stuff. So here I am with not just a mower, but two trimmers, an edger, ton of Ryobi equipment that I never thought I needed, and 8 Ryobi batteries, and there you have it.
Well, Derrick, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. It was a lot of fun. It was good to have just a simple lawn care talk about things, because like I said, that's extremely important. I think it's always, no matter what level of lawn care expertise you are, I think it's always a good thing to be reminded about those simple things and how beautiful you can make your lawn just by doing those simple things, and you show those and demonstrate that through your pictures. I really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight in the chat. If on your way out, if you don't mind hitting the like button, if you like what I'm doing here on the podcast, if you like the show, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you are not already. I've been doing these on the winter just because it's a little bit of downtime. It allows me to communicate a little bit more with the lawn care community and just stay intact with everybody. I really appreciate all the support I've gotten with the podcast. It's been really fun to do these. It's obviously a much different style than the videos that I traditionally do. But I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope it's a relaxing weekend. If you're in a cold climate like we are here, it's about to get pretty cold. It is.
Stay warm.
Well, it's not about. It is already really cold. Stay warm. Enjoy the weekend. Have fun with your family and friends. I hope this was a good start to your weekend. And next week we have Chuck from Dadding All Day coming on the show, so that'll be a good one.
Nice.
Thank you so much, guys. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate all the support. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.